Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another wonderful version of Isles Talk. We figured we'd change the setup a little bit because Paul usually starts the show, but I still outrank him as I am the emeritus of this site. So I'm Gary Harding. I'm gonna consider myself the co-host because really Paul does all the work, and I have to make him feel good. So, but anyway, Joe Panettiere with us as always. Good evening, gentlemen.
What's up, boys?
Going on, Gary? Time to break a different kind of streak here. Hopefully, with you starting the show, the Islanders can start winning some games. So
yeah,
we're going to have to keep on this tradition. If the Islanders continue to keep winning, Gary, you're going to have to open up the show from now on.
Yeah, I was gonna wear the fisherman jersey today because anybody that knows me knows that when the team's not doing well, I say they don't deserve my regular colors, and I pull the fisherman out. And the record's usually pretty good. I'm thinking I'm about a 70% clip with that jersey on. But so guarantee you that will be in the stands on Saturday. But we're all struggling with it. We're all struggling with the losing streak. As I told you guys off the air before we came on, I don't know about anybody that's listening in the chat rooms, but I did something for only the third time in 38 years as a season ticket holder. I actually left the game before it ended. I never thought I'd do that. Claire and I are sitting in the seats. It's 3-0 a couple minutes into the second period. And I said, you know what? If they don't score a goal this period, we're leaving. And I think Claire looked at me like I was nuts. But, she was looking at her phone. I wasn't really looking with as much interest as I normally do. And, it just behooves me. We were talking before how this team just went in a completely opposite direction. Joe, what can you say about this? I mean, is it bad karma? Is it, remember years ago, there was those things called biorhythms and you always thought, your day was going good or bad because of it. I mean, what could spook this?
I just don't understand how you go on a 6-game win streak and clearly dominate 3 of them. And then in the 7th game, you just lose your game. They stopped hitting. They stopped forechecking. I can't tell you how many people, forwards from the opposing teams just went around or through our defense. And we're also talking about it before. Romanov's the only one hitting anybody. I mean, is our defense banged up? We're at that part of the year where everybody's playing, a little banged up, but I mean, they're not leveling people. I'm watching these other teams like Winnipeg when they played the Rangers, they hammered them. I mean, where's that? Where did this game go? How do you lose your game from one game to another? Usually you could tell when it's happening. All right, this team's starting to slow down. Maybe they're tired, but we were playing excellent hockey, and it just fell apart.
I mean, granted, the last 2 games were against teams that were the first 2 games that were, on the West Coast trip were San Jose and Anaheim, and we know those teams are very lackluster if at best. But how, how does a team, you can understand, like in the LA game, they came off a little flat. Okay. 3 games on the West Coast, out a week, you're going over, but it just, again, it rolls over. And, as fans in the stands, you just can't believe this was the same team that was doing so well.
Right. I agree. I'm baffled.
Yeah. So, Paul, what do you think?
There's nothing to sugarcoat here. We're not going to sugarcoat this. The Islanders should have beaten Buffalo. They should have beaten Ottawa. I'm sorry, after that loss in the Stadium Series that first time, you needed to show up against the Rangers. I don't care if it's a back-to-back or whatnot. you playing for pride, and they're showing they don't have any at the moment. Again, we don't want to wish, people injured or anything else like that. I'll feel a little better if I see Pellick, Pullock, and Mayfield all taking off-season surgeries to get whatever they have to get fixed, because we said this a few weeks ago. We are witnessing Western Hockey League defense again, where they're just moving the sticks and not hitting the bodies. My hope is that they're swinging the sticks because they can't take the body because they're playing injured. I would have a little more leniency with that. But like Joe said, they're not winning any battles. They're literally allowing players to get into that little defensive box. And I think it's gotten to Sorokin's head. We've said this before, and I've said this before. Sorokin has never been in a system like this. Period. Ever. When he was playing over in the KHL, it was a Barry Trotz system. He's over here now. When yes, he was having a phenomenal year last year, but it wasn't until Lane Lambert started cracking down and playing more of a defensive game in the second half that you really started to see Sorokin shine again, because that's what he's used to.
Right.
So there's a couple of factors that got to come into play that I'm hoping we find out. But gentlemen, if that's it, there's got to be something else going on in that locker room that we will never know. And I don't think it's a rift, but there's something there in that locker room that, Joe, you said it. How do you go from the 6-game winning streak to going winless in 5? It's got to be a locker room if it's not injuries.
I agree with you.
No, go ahead, Joe.
No, I was just going to say I agree with Paul. I mean, it's I can't put my finger on it, because I've like we were saying before, we haven't seen this since what, 92?
I was going to say, when was the last time? We're all old enough now.
Up and down.
When was the last time we saw a season like this?
Yeah.
It had to have been 92. And for those of you who don't remember or weren't around, the Islanders were starting off a little flat. That was the year of the Pat LaFontaine trade. They traded for Turgeon and Hogue and Thomas, and they went on a big tear. They ended up getting in first place for a little while, and then they ended up missing the playoffs. And Gary, I think you said they went something like 35, 34, and 11, something like that.
Something like, yeah. I think it was 2 games.
It was a roller coaster season.
It was 2 games under NHL 500.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, this is something we have not seen in over 20 years, folks. It's an anomaly, but I don't know. Losing a locker, I don't want to say losing a locker room, wrong choice of words. Something's going on in that locker room that, as fans, we will probably never know.
No. And knowing from people that cover, and all that, the Islanders locker room has always been, and I mean a long time, been one of the better locker rooms in the league. This regardless of where they were in the standings. The coaching staff always said that the locker room was really good, that the guys got along. There's no cliques. There's no other issues. It just behooves me. It really does. But, now, we've always talked about, 95 points or 94 points being that magic number. We're sitting now at 73 with 13 games left?
Yeah.
Right. So obviously you're talking 22 points out of a possible 28 in order to reach that magic 95 number. So, again, we don't like to be, I think all of us that are on this blog right now that are, you're looking at the screens, we all try to see a positive in this. And, until it says that Z, I think they put Z or E for eliminated, until it says that name next, that letter next to the team, I'm not losing hope. I'm disappointed. Like I said, leaving for the 3rd time in 38 years out of a game, it bothered me. it bothered me the whole ride home. And but what do you try to, as fans, what do we say to other fans? Everybody's mad and we know that, but what do you say, to try to not necessarily make things better, or, maybe feel a little better trying to get through the rest of the season? Paul, what do you think?
Well, I'll be even worse. I'm gonna come out hard on fans because I've told them and I promised them that I would. For those of you scoreboard watching, every Islander fan right now is a Toronto Maple Leaf fan. You have no idea how much that pains me to say that, especially with Randy here at the moment. Okay, absolutely ticks me off. Listen, it's very simple, folks. If the Washington Capitals win tonight and the Islanders lose tomorrow against the Detroit Red Wings in regulation, it's just about over. Bar none. That's it. That is your season tomorrow. Now, if Washington loses, the Islanders still have to win tomorrow, but then Philadelphia has an absolutely brutal schedule. And in my honest opinion, the only way the Islanders are going to make the playoffs at this point is if Philadelphia loses out. That's the only way. And that's going to be the help that, we talked about that last year. Oh, the Islanders got in because Chicago beat Pittsburgh. Well, they're going to need help from Philadelphia to get in, or they're going to need help from other teams to beat Philadelphia to get into the playoffs. Moving forward, it's tough to move those contracts. Kyle Palmieri probably has the most value out of all of them. Question is, does he want to go anywhere? JG Pajot doesn't have a no trade clause. You could move him. I know everyone wants Anders Lee gone, but good luck moving a $7 million contract. The good part is, and we can get into this a little bit later on, is that we've got a couple of kids now who are going to be ready for NHL time in the minors starting next season. We'll get into that a little bit later on. There's no buying him out. Nelson has the most value. I don't think Nelson's going anywhere.
I don't think so either.
No,
not the way he's
don't
playing.
trade your best guy.
I believe Nelson has a no trade clause, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere.
No, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I think he's earned it.
I think he has too.
Yeah, no question. You may not be flashy, he may not be the cool-looking player, but he gives it. Most nights he's giving it. So I have no problem with him.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree. Weak farm system just got a lot better, Mark. Trust me. And there's a couple of moves this offseason, especially around the draft, that the Islanders can do, and they can take advantage of the waiver wire coming in the beginning of the season. Trust me. That farm system's not a big of a mess as people have been making them out to.
Yeah, it's not as bad as you think.
Yeah. Modified no trade clause. Yes, but we all know Lou is going to ask Nelson, do you really want to go somewhere? If he doesn't, I don't think he's going to go. And I agree with this. There's a lot of injuries to Pulock and Pulock. Go ahead, Joe.
If the Wild were a good team, then you could say, all right, maybe he'll go home. He'll go to Minnesota.
Sure.
But, that would be one option for him. But I don't think he goes anywhere.
Message to Randy. I think Paul would burn it on the show.
I would take the camera outside. I'd find a little burning barrel somewhere, and I would take that Leafs jersey and start a fire with it. No doubt.
And the fire would be so high you'd see it in Calgary.
Yeah. And, I know everyone's trying to Bailey Lee here, but look, no offense. You're getting most of your money for a $7 million contract than you have with any other player in the NHL at this point. Him and Kreider are your best $7 million value. Okay. And remember who started the $7 million contracts? Zach Parise. Parise did not earn that $7 million contract, which is why he was bought out. If you guys go on whatever cap website you want to go on, you're going to see Kreider and Lee have the best value for $7 million. Okay, Lee's still on pace to score 21 goals. But he was put in a role where it was like stand here, deflect the puck, create traffic. That's what he's doing. That's what he's doing. Yes, is it an off year? Yes. Is it one of his worst years? Statistically, yes. But the bottom line is when you're asked not to do much and put up close to 20 goals, you're doing your job for what you're getting paid for. So you can't necessarily Bailey Lee out. At least not next season. Now, if Lee gets injured, it's a completely different story. Because he's a year older. You can put him on LTIR depending on where they are on the cap.
Let me ask. There was another comment in there that's below that, Paul, that I want to answer.
Slow and dragging. Can I play a system we need?
No, the one that underneath that.
Lack of leadership?
Yeah. How do you know?
Yeah, I've never been told any of that.
Let me be very honest with a lot of people, and this comes from someone. And this comes from someone that's covered the team. Okay. I spent 6 years going into the locker room. I've covered Islander games from so many different places. I didn't do it when unfortunately when Anders was a captain, but I will tell you right now, things that are done in the locker room that no one sees, that no one has a clue of what's going on. You can't say it's his lack of leadership. Because I can tell you, even when he was not the captain of this team, when I saw him in the locker room after games, and I got to see the first couple of seasons, and I saw him and I covered him in Bridgeport as well when he was an alternate captain. He doesn't, again, he's one of those players that you hear, he doesn't need a big mouth to show leadership. And hockey players are usually not that way. They talk very quietly. They talk very calmly, but the passion in their voice, the passion in what they say to people is paramount. And I'm sorry, Tim. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but believe me, you don't see it. You will not see it. Even with the comments that you hear on the post game shows and that has no indication as to what the leadership on those guys are. And again, he's like Kyle Oposo, who we all know and love, and just went to the Florida Panthers, and they got him because Kyle is another one, a very quiet leader.
Right.
But people will go on his back, and he will plow through. And Anders is that same kind of guy. And I'll tell you something: he may not put the offensive numbers that he's had in the past, but I'll be very honest with you, and I notice it a lot, being that I sit behind the net at UBS. I think Anders Lee is skating better than he's skated in the last 4 years. There was at least 3 or 4 times in the last couple of games that I saw at home that he really outgunned somebody to a puck in the corner that 3 or 4 years ago there would be no way in hell he would have beat.
Yeah.
So granted, and again, this is always the argument that I had with people on Bailey last year. You don't see it in the numbers. When you don't see him getting 30 goals, you're saying, oh, his leadership stinks. Because Lee is another one of those guys that's an intangible player that you can't put a number on. The other things that he does off the puck, the things that he'll do in the corners, those kind of things, you can't put a numeric number on it. And that's what makes the player better than what people think. Again, long-winded opinion, but I guarantee you, and also a couple of my connections that I have will tell you that people that cover the team and people that know around the team will tell you that Anders Lee is one of the best leaders in hockey, bar none. It's it affecting the team? No, it's not his. It's not his leadership that's affecting the team. It's everything around the team. He's one of 20.
He leads by example. Comes to play.
And and to Joe's credit, Joe, I want you to go on a little bit more. We have seen some big goals from Anders Lee even this season when the Islanders are down, and he's right there to pick that team up, and everyone's jumping on him when they score. That resonates.
How many guys do you see standing in front of the net, taking a beating just to get a piece of a puck on a tip, or just to get in the goalie's vision? You don't see every player doing that. I would compare him to like a John LeClaire or a Tim Kerr. He gets in front of the net and, all right, move me.
Mm-hmm.
Not that.
And
not
sometimes
that
it takes two.
Yeah, and you take a beating. He's getting cross-checked. He's getting slashed. I mean, but he night to night, to know that you're going to be in front of that net taking a beating. Listen, it takes heart because not every player can do that.
No.
And it takes its toll on you. You get banged up. And listen, he had that leg injury. Okay. And sometimes it takes a couple of seasons to get your strength back in that leg or get the confidence of doing what you want to do on that leg to get yourself back into the game. And I have to agree with Gary. I mean, I think all my years watching him play, this is one of his best skating years, I would have to say.
Yeah, no doubt.
But hey, listen, he did his job for us. He was a good captain.
Yeah, folks, we're not disagreeing with you. We've been seeing this all season. There is a little bit of softness to this team. We're wondering, why has there been softness? So I'm going to ask this question in the chat room. If you guys found out there ended up being a laundry list of injuries that these players are going to go through surgeries during the summertime, it doesn't change the result, but then you find out a lot of these players are playing injured. Does that change your thinking of this season a little bit?
And this happens all the time too. Once a team is eliminated, you go, that they have their, final interviews or whatever, and they start going off their separate ways. And then 3 or 4 days later, you find out, player X, player Y, player Z are all having surgery today to correct this problem and that problem.
And again, we're dealing with the Islanders here, so we may never know what kind of injuries they have.
No.
And I think that's the other frustrating part. So it happens. Okay, and I know you guys are asking for change. What change are you guys looking for? Because that's been like the key word here. Okay, what kind of change are you guys looking for?
And do us a favor. We, again, no team. We're not going to disrespect any of your opinions. That's your opinion, and it's great. But before you say something, really look at it. Saying you can't overhaul the entire team. Okay, you got to remember where you are cap wise. You got to remember where things are. But what do you think? We'll try to be as honest as we can with you.
This part I agree with.
Yes.
Yes, Angie.
Angie's spot on.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to see.
They brought in his assistant with Quebec with the Rampart, who was I don't know where he was with now before that, but that's gonna change. Guaranteed.
You know what, Al? I don't think they don't need an overhaul of youth and speed. I think Fasching is still faster than Matt Martin. Gauthier is going to be faster than Clutterbuck. McLean's faster.
Thanks,
You've got
Andy.
3 kids right there. Holmstrom, give him another season. Let him get that full. Let him develop a little bit more. I still feel he was rushed. Enval, I don't even want to talk about him just yet.
No.
It's just but as far as the bottom 6 goes, that's already starting to happen. So, I saw this. We need a new GM. Guys, I don't know, Joe.
I mean,
I don't want to throw Gary into this yet. Gary and I have done this so many times.
Wait a second. Gary answered that question before. The contracts are going to be hard to move. Okay.
Right.
So, all right, you got 3 or 4 places you could fit players in. That's fine.
Right.
The guy just got you Bo Horvat for Beauvillier. I mean, come on. The guy got you a beast for nothing. He stole him.
And Beauvillier has been on 3 teams. Atu
Right.
Ratu is a second-line center in Abbotsford.
Right.
You stole him. You stole him.
Everybody, all right, look, you want to go after him, but you got to realize something. There's not much he can do with the contracts.
No.
Hey, look, same thing with Lee. Where's he going? Okay. Nelson, where's he going? He's not going anywhere. You're stuck with some of these players. You got to ride the contracts out. This is the way it is. This is the nature of the beast right now. All the teams have it. You know, you're not. We don't have a player, an $8 million player, who's going to miss the rest of the season. Where at the trade deadline we could have brought in, a top 3 forward, and then have our player come back for the playoffs. We don't have that situation like Tampa Bay. Okay, and they're going to end up doing it again.
Yeah.
All right. Somehow I think Mark's been asking this question all year. I don't know where he's getting this from. No, I don't think he's going to be the GM. Yes, I do think I think he is going to be the GM next season. I don't think it's going to be Patrick Waugh. Okay, he's already made signings. He's making some off-season deals now. And he brought in Patrick Waugh. If you are an outgoing GM, you're not going to hire your replacement. This is not the Milbury era.
I think that move just gave Lou 2 more seasons.
Yes.
That's what I think. I think that move gave him two more seasons, and
Yeah. Now, again, if the Islanders win the Stanley Cup, Waugh should definitely keep his options open, because Canada's going to throw everything at him to come back to Canada and win a cup. Do I think Lou's son is going to take over if Lou retires? No. I think Chris will only become the general manager if something physically is wrong with Lou. Gary, we've been saying that for God knows how long now.
Broken record. Absolute broken record. I'm just looking at some of these things. Yes, I agree that Mayfield's contract was bad. Oh, yeah. I've always been a Scotty Mayfield fan. But yes, do I think 7 years was? Yes, no question. So for the good things he's done, for the Bo Horvats that he's done things that, took the last 4 hairs out of Joe's head.
Yeah, but you got to realize something. Mayfield was playing good hockey when he signed him to that contract.
Yeah, so, but do I would say if I was GM, I would go 4, maybe
right.
3.
Yeah, I agree. The term
7 was wrong.
Right.
7 was wrong. But and again, he did the same thing with Engvall. He liked them in Toronto. He was able to get them. Boom, 7 years.
Okay. James, which one are you referring to? Are we talking about the Mayfield contract? If it's about the Mayfield contract, let me know in the comments. And once again, I will explain to fans why there are so many teams handing out long-term deals. It's not just the Islanders.
Yeah.
Look at the Buffalo Sabres. Look at the Ottawa Senators. 7, 8-year deals. Okay? Let me know, and I will kindly, hopefully for the last time, explain to you guys why Mayfield got a 7-year deal. Oh,
I know. I know the reason, but I just
all of them? Okay. Okay. In 2 years' time, collective bargaining agreement. Okay. We have no idea where that cap is going to be. Okay. It may not be able to go any higher than 92, maybe 95,
and right now it is at tell everybody.
87.
Yeah,
Yeah.
87.
87. It'll be up to 92 next season. Okay. Every collective bargaining agreement so far has had a compliance buyout of some form, which players have accepted now because they've realized how quickly it was for them to re-sign with other teams. Mayfield was kind of owed that money, but he did Garcino a favor when they were on Long Island. Well, let me rephrase that, at Nassau. Okay? If you guys think Mayfield's playing till he's 37, I don't know what to tell you. Okay? In 2 years' time, the Islanders can buy out that contract, and he's not going to be a part of the cap space. And yet, Lou Lamoriello sets him up for retirement. Ta-da! You could also do that with Pierre Engvall. Other teams will be doing that with other players if they decide to crap the bed for the next 3 seasons, including this one. Okay? It's all part of the money. Other teams, again, if they spend to the cap, those players that are injured, they go on the long-term injured reserve. You're charging your way. Look at what Vegas does. Vegas is coming up with a new blueprint on how to win a Stanley Cup financially. Getting players with big contracts, and if they're injured, long-term injured reserve. Increasing the cap space.
And you know that's going to change in 2 years.
Yeah, James, but why are you giving kids 7 or 8 year deals when they haven't proven anything? Why? To build a core. What core? They haven't won anything. That's why Steve Yzerman is so fluid. He does not believe in the long-term contracts. Compulsory buyouts. Thank you.
You don't see guys like Jack Hughes with an 8-year contract.
Thank you. Other than that, Franken, you're right. It's going to be a drop in the bucket, no doubt. But they may not even have it in 3 years at the end of the collective bargaining agreement, which,
Right.
by the way, folks, that's going to be a beauty. Okay? You want drama? That's going to be drama at the end of that season. Thank God the Islanders are having an all-star game before that collective bargaining agreement. Okay? Let me tell you. Pray that. Okay? I'm not going to say they're not going to have a season, but let me tell you, they're going to be one.
What a goal.
You.
What a shot.
Yeah. Hey. If the Mets can pay Bobby Bonilla still, we can pay DiPietro. Knock that.
Yeah, exactly.
87 next season? No, it's 87. I thought it was. Is it 84 right now? 87 this season?
I think it's 80. I thought it was 84, actually.
Is it 84 right now? Whatever. You guys get it.
Oh, man.
Yes, that's what there is. The players go for it. Guys, don't worry about the long-term contracts. It's all part of the business. What are we talking about here? We all knew this was a win-now team this year, correct? Lou gambled, and it backfired last year. Was probably the year. But Barzell was injured this year, and the gamble didn't pay off. All right, boys and girls. Again.
Welcome to Uncle Paul's school.
Oh, Your definition of a winning season and the Islanders' definition of a winning season are different by a long shot. Okay? Listen. The goal for the Islanders right now, yeah, they want to get into the playoffs. We want to win a Stanley Cup. Yeah, it's a good selling point. Okay? The Islanders lost, I know. The Islanders lost close to $100 million playing in Brooklyn and those 2 COVID seasons at Nassau Coliseum. They're not necessarily about worried. I'm losing it here. They're not necessarily worried about winning the cup as so much as trying to get their money back. They have to keep the win now thing going for a little while longer. They've made $65 million roughly the last 2 seasons. Don't know what this year is yet, but I'm sure it's going to be somewhere up in the 20s. And they're raising ticket prices next season.
Mm-hmm.
Fill the seats.
Yes. And Matthew, yes, I did say they would finish second in the division. But I also said I was kind of hoping that Carolina's rug would get pulled and some of the other teams would. Okay, I had the Devils finishing first, the Islanders second, the Rangers third, and Carolina fourth. But I still said when it comes to the playoffs, if Carolina was healthy, it was Carolina's to lose. I remember what I said.
Mm-hmm.
And again, in all honesty, that kind of pisses me off. Because the rug did get pulled from a bunch of these teams, and the Islanders are not in the playoffs. But let me ask, gentlemen, this is a question that was not brought up pre-game here. If the Islanders didn't have 15 overtime losses, say we got at least half those points, say 7 points extra, the Islanders seem to be firmly in the playoffs. And they didn't do anything because Lou believes in this team. Do you think with the attitude that we've seen the last couple of games that the Islanders are playoff ready?
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
Again, I always go back to my comments watching the facial expressions, watching the body language. Remember, we were talking about that before Patrick got hired.
Right.
The last few games of Lane Lambert, I kept saying they all looked like they lost their uncle.
Right.
On the bench, after a goal, it looks the exact, and they got away from it. Even in the first couple of losses that Patrick had as a coach, the guys still looked positive. They still looked like they were putting effort in. It wasn't, the common line, Patrick uses, was it perfect? No. And I agree, but the guys didn't look like they were down. All of a sudden, after that LA game, they look down. It's depressing to watch. So that's the whole thing that gets me is that,
yeah,
I'm not comfortable with it.
Our second period's a dismal. Okay. Now, is it a conditioning thing? Is it now a mental thing? Like, I think this is the second or third season in a row where our second periods are horrible.
Hold on, I'll let you know. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's the second year in a row.
All right. Is it conditioning? Is it okay? All right. We played great that first period. Let's save it for the third. I can't put my finger on it. But the play is inconsistent. And if you want to be a playoff team by now, and I thought they found it during that 6-game win streak, I was saying to myself, they found their game, and we were talking about that. Win 6, lose 1 or 2, win another 3, 4, 5 in a row. You're in the playoffs.
Yep.
But listen, like you said, another loss. But I can't get my finger on that second period. Why does this team just disappear in the second period? I don't get it.
How many times have we heard Butch scoring say stop skating in the second period.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
But why? Why are they doing that? I mean, you could say, all right, you got a 3-goal lead, dump and chase, blah blah blah, shut the game down to the neutral zone. Fine. But if you're down a goal, wouldn't you want to come out in that second period and say, all right, listen, let's get back in this game, let's find our game? But it's like there's no effort in that second period. It's like it's a total shutdown.
Right. I'm going to answer this question. Dobson is weak mentally. In all honesty, James, after what that kid's been through this season, I would be weak mentally too. You lose, Mayfield was injured, Pellick was injured, Bullock was injured, and you were asked to play with a player who you didn't really gel with last season to be your top line this year, and you got overworked big time, and you're still in a playoff hunt. I will say this again. I know many will probably disagree, but I think you're only as good as your best player here. And in my opinion, despite Bo Horvat doing everything, I think Noah Dobson is still the best player for the system, and it shows. Because again, a lot of this losing, the Islanders defensemen have not been scoring points, and that kind of includes Dobson as well. He's kind of slowed down a little bit. If it wasn't for Mike Riley, we wouldn't even be talking playoffs at this point. We've been going over the numbers all year. When the Islanders defense score 3 points or more in a game, they're 16-4-3. The problem is it only happened 23 times so far. It happened 34 last year. So we're about 11 games out of that, and that's what happens when you lose Pellick, Mayfield for that long. And you're asking Noah Dobson to do everything. Believe it or not, boys and girls, the forwards, they're all hitting their numbers, except for Enval, Pajot, and Holmstrom. Everyone else is hitting their numbers. But the driving force is that defense, and it's defensive scoring. And Joe, we talked about this before. If the defense is not scoring those points, they're losing battles against the boards. They're not doing something right over there.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that. And you could see that the last 3 games. When the puck is in deep in the offensive zone, the defensemen aren't pinching because we're not controlling the puck.
Bingo.
So,
yeah. And Al, I agree with this. He has made some poor decisions lately. Most kids do. Yeah, it's true.
You can't compare, although you try to. You compare a Noah Dobson to a Cale Makar. Cale Makar is a different beast.
Yeah.
I mean, he's almost, I wouldn't call it generational, but it's close to it. And remember, that was 23. You're talking about him like he's a 12-year veteran. Yeah. He's 23 years old. He's still, although he is a big guy, I don't think he's fully machoed up yet. And he's been fabulous. He's been absolutely fabulous. Yes, he's had bad games. The last 3 or 4 have been pretty crappy. And Claire can vouch because I'm screaming, Dobson! So it's bad, but still, the kid doesn't have the help.
Right.
I think Romanov has been Romanov to me, he's not the point getter, but he's been consistently good all year. Doing the job you're supposed to do. And in most cases, Dobson has done it, despite the couple flaws. I know the stat's not great, but isn't he the top in plus minus on this team?
Who's that?
Dobson.
Yeah.
He's top plus minus, isn't he?
Yeah, I'm getting questions on the PK. Listen, we don't have an answer for that.
No.
If we had an answer for that, we'd be in Vegas, we'd be able to help you out with that. That's going to have to get fixed when we know who's on that team next season.
Possibly he's
Patrick
even
Waugh's system is fully installed. That'll go from there.
if there's a new defensive coach, because you have to think about that. He might want he's good. He had to keep the squad, the guys he had. He might want to bring his own team in.
Right.
So
That's
I just have a feeling that's going to happen. It always does. And it's no, downgrade or, negative on Doug Hooter or John McClain, but I'm almost positive he's going to want to carry his own team.
But look how many teams are number one in the penalty kill one season, and then the following season they're either in the middle of the pack or down further. It's also how well your players are playing on the penalty kill.
Right.
Yeah. It's look, a lot of things about this team baffle me. Okay, the penalty kill last year was the power play. It's a revolving door of issues. But you have your head coach now. Let him bring in his own staff and start to right the ship. Because don't forget, you change head coaches mid-season. Yeah, it's a kick in the ass. But sometimes you got to bring in the full coaching staff to make everybody comfortable.
Right.
So.
And yeah, with Sorokin, he has not had a great season. We're not going to sugarcoat that either. But in small defense, and again, this may be something that fans may not realize. This is the first full season that Sorokin has had to be a goaltender with a defensive system the way it is. Which is, and Ryan will tell you, this is a Western Hockey League defense where it's mostly sticks and less block shots and less hitting. Okay. Sorokin did not grow up with that when he was developing over in the KHL. When he was over in CSKA, he was under a Barry Trotz system, which is why he was doing so well to begin with, which is why he dominated that second half last year. Okay? Remember, I have always compared him to something like a Yarrow Halak with a Thomas Greiss control and calm and composure. You put Yarrow Halak with the Doug Weight system, you get sent down to Bridgeport. Now, Sorokin is by far better than Yarrow Halak. But when you put in a system that's a little more open and not as defensive focused, you become an average goaltender. This is a first for him. It's probably in his head. And he's also seen a lot of shots this year.
A ton.
Okay. It is no coincidence that his numbers 5-on-5 are better than on the penalty kill because everybody's there. You have more of a chance to be more of a defensive team. But when you take stupid penalties, that the Islanders, I'm almost guaranteeing that the Islanders are leading the league in stupid penalties this year. It's going to take a toll on Sorokin. Exactly right. Well, look, Mark, in all honesty, if you want the Islanders giving up 3 goals a game, you got to change the system anyway.
Yep.
You got to change the system. Fair enough. Okay. If the Islanders were only giving up 2.5, 2.7, okay, Sorokin and Varlamov are going to be going up for the Jennings Award as a best the least amount of goals. They can do what Swayman and Olmark have been doing. That's all they got to do. But you can't give up 3 goals a game. You get that down to 2.7, you're in. We're talking playoffs. It's like bring on the Rangers. That's where we would be at right now. 3 goals. There's something with the system. Obviously,
yeah. Remember, 3/10 of a point on a goals against average over a whole season is 27 goals.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think of it that way, but mathematically, look at that difference 27 goals does.
Yeah, I didn't know that stat. That's kind of scary. But again, you're not expecting 15 and 53 to score.
Yeah. Hey, Paul,
Yeah.
let me ask you a question.
Oh
You know
no.
Sorokin. You know Sorokin better than anybody in this chat room. Probably better than anybody around.
Okay. Pressure.
Yeah, they're
Comparing
fucking
all
lucky.
the seasons you watched him play, NHL, over in Russia, do you see any difference in his game this year where you could say, well, he looks like he has an injury, maybe battling a groin pull, or you see any difference in his game than what you've
Yeah,
seen
I
over the
have.
last few years?
I have. I don't know if it's a groin tweak or whatnot. I don't think he's getting down quick enough. I don't think he's been as aggressive coming out of the crease. Um, I'm not gonna lie. I would like to see him get a little nastier with players, like literally in front of his crease, move him out of the way. Um, no, I think you know his
Oof,
timing
Ovi.
is off. Getting down, yeah, getting down on the ice could be a little bit better. Um, uh, again,
I
he's been through a lot of shots. But go ahead, Gary.
no, I see it from the home games a little bit better, even though it's further distance away than your TV screen. But I don't see the violence. I call it violence when he's
Yeah,
got to go side to side. As the puck's going back and forth between the circles to the offensive team. It doesn't look as violent as he was last year because he was getting there so quickly. And nobody would expect him to be, to get certain saves because he's going so far back to get his glove to the puck. I
Mm-hmm.
just don't see it. It's not, again, we're not saying that he's hurt. We're not saying that he's got a problem. It's just observational. To me, he just doesn't look like he's 100%,
yeah,
whether it's real or not.
right,
It's just it's our perception as fans and what
yeah,
we're looking at. But
yeah,
to me, I just don't feel he's playing in full capacity.
right,
I just don't.
yeah. And we're really not trying to make excuses,
No, not at
but
all.
when everyone here is basically saying or typing in the same thing, guys, we haven't had this discussion before, and we're all seeing the same thing. There's some merit to it. And Angie, I'm gonna kind of agree with this. He hasn't been the same since the Gallagher hit.
No.
But again, we can also say the same thing with Scott Mayfield. He's had his highs and lows, but he's been out. Should he have been
Ryan
coming back
Pullock the same
early?
way.
Ryan Pullock's the same way.
Yeah.
And the question that I had, we're going back to that Western Hockey League defense where it's just sticks only. Are they doing that to prevent injuries? Honestly, I've played enough sports. You guys have probably played enough sports. Everyone here, you all have your hobbies. If you're injured and you're really worried, if you can get away with playing a game without getting injured, that's a win.
Yeah.
I mean, we could be at that point. Go ahead, Joe.
But what does that say to our system as far as, the farm team and everything, where if these players are playing injured, you're not bringing up defensemen to take their place? Because now, say we fall 7 points behind. That's my cutoff. You fall 7 points
Sure.
behind the team now, you're done. Do you take these players out and let them heal up and bring these kids up to say, what do you do? I mean, now you're taking a risk with these players if they're playing. I mean, Pollock, the game against I believe it was the Rangers, to avoid a hit, he turned the puck over because he didn't
Yeah.
want to get hit. And to me, that's
Yep.
a player that's hurt, and he shouldn't be
Yep.
playing if he's hurt.
Yep.
Yep.
I mean, that's a great question, Joe. Is when do you now make that cutoff happen? Do we see? I don't know on the forward wise, but defensive wise, do you see maybe a Dennis Cholowski come up for a couple of games? Do you see somebody else come up? Do you get Bolduc a shot at this point? What do you do?
Is
And
Hutton still a Bridgeport?
we haven't even talked about Mr. Wallstrom sitting on the bench for 20 straight games.
All right. Yeah, all right. I'm going to go real quick with this one. I'm a little annoyed that Bull Duke, Wallstrom, and even Fashing didn't play against Ottawa.
Yep.
You lose 3-0 to the Kings. Okay. Not really surprised. But then you lose 4-0 to Buffalo. That's 2 straight games without a goal. You're playing the Ottawa Senators. You've got 3 players who really want to play and prove something. You want motivation? Those kids probably should have played, in my humble opinion. Because then you're going up against the Rangers the next day. You can put Fashing back in. I'm sorry, Enval back in. You can do, Holmstrom back in. You want that defensive outlook. That's fine. But you have to have the mentality that, okay, we're still going to make the playoffs, but we got to get some kids in here just to shake off some rust, get some motivation going here. And that didn't happen. And, again, going back to that Enval scratching, you scratch him during an Ottawa game. Why would you scratch Enval, one of your faster players, against Carolina?
Especially a team like that.
Especially with a team like that.
Yeah.
Granted, did he deserve the scratching? Of course he did. But that always confused me. Fashing, okay, he's going to have to grind you in there, but to grab that goal. But when you really don't have a spot for Enval at the problem, that's the biggest problem right now. You don't have a spot for Enval, but you need that speed to keep up with Carolina, especially Carolina's defense. Mm-hmm. So I don't know.
Hey, Paul.
Oh no.
No. This is good. This is good because this part is up your alley.
Okay.
Why don't we talk about the latest news that's happened with this organization?
All right.
We haven't talked about it.
We can do.
AKA the newest member of the New York. He's the member of the Bridgeport Islanders now, but he's really now a part of the Islander organization.
Yes, he is. Alex Jeffries, as of right now, he's on an amateur tryout. He's signed from Merrimack. All right.
Now, Paul,
Gary will attest to this.
Yeah, I was just going to lead on to it because you have a good relationship in covering the prospects and that, and we've been talking about him off and on for the last couple of years. And I know he had an injury this year, and it wasn't his best season. But you've had some conversations with some people, and why don't you just talk about that and talk about the good things and what people on this board might expect from him maybe over the next 18 to 24 months.
Yeah. I don't like to promote prospects, draftees. I've learned that lesson. I've taken that fanboy building up prospects out of this whole equation. And as Gary will attest, I'm probably one of the toughest when it comes to, I don't want to say grading prospects, but I will believe it when I see it. Folks, I haven't been excited about one player like this coming into an organization probably since Sorokin. Bellows, there was some excitement. Wallstrom, there was some excitement. But for me, they needed to do 2 years of college, and they didn't do that, and that's always been a red flag for me. What are you getting out of Alex Jeffries? You are getting a left winger who shoots right and also played center this year as well. He can play all 3 positions. I dare say he's got a snipe that would remind you of Thomas Vanek and Derek King.
Wow.
When I tell you I've seen enough games out of this kid, and it was I believe it was Boston College. I've seen I out of all the games, he's I've seen the most games from him. He literally has done 2 water bottle snipes against Michael Robel in college. And for those of you who don't know who Michael Robel is, he was Team USA's goalie, game winning goalie, the gold medal winning goalie for Team USA this year. He sniped it twice over this kid. Water bottle. He's got a 200-foot game that has evolved tremendously over the last 2 years. He's a far better skater than Vanek ever will be or would be. He can pass, he can shoot. I put him in that mold. But folks, I'm not going to lie. If he can play center as well, or if that develops anytime soon, you're looking at a Brock Nelson, a sniping Brock Nelson. Like, that's just the mold right there. Mark, look, of all the people, that deserves a 1-week ban. Bringing up Greg Jeffries, that deserves a 1-week ban. Yeah, Ryan, he's got really good skating. He can skate with the best of them. He was, that East, that was one of the best leagues. Alex Jeffries, he was a point per game, if not more. And Merrimack's only problem this year was that they were riddled with injuries. If they didn't have the injuries this year, including to himself, Merrimack's an easy top 10 team in the nation. He stayed for another season because they wanted to go for a national title. They were all coming back, and it just didn't happen that way. He is what's the word? He's sneaky big, Ryan. He's sneaky big. He looks lanky, but you put everything on, he's a big boy. You don't know if he's a power forward or not. That's why I had him in that Thomas Vanek mold. He loves to play the perimeter, but he loves to crash the net, and he's got that snipe like Vanek did. And don't go Vanek, with the other teams. Think of Thomas Vanek when he was with the New York Islanders, playing in Brooklyn. Jeffrey Speed is good, but again, I'm going to go old school here. For those of you who don't know, I am in that Bill Torrey mode of a fan. I like keeping prospects down longer than they should, so that way when they come up to the NHL, they never go back. It's Jimmy Devellano, it's Steve Yzerman, it's Poyle, it's Jim Nill, it's all those guys. I have been growing a fan of that. Alex Jeffries, for me, if he has one hell of a summer of conditioning and skating in Bridgeport, if Anders Lee were to have an injury next season, I have no issues bringing up Alex Jeffries. Absolutely none. Absolutely not. You are so wrong on that. No, he's just here to tick me off. He knows that. He's not there. Alex Jeffries will not need 2 years. And if I don't want to say if I'm the Islanders, what I would like to see at the beginning is for Alex Jeffries to stay in training camp for absolutely as long as possible and make it absolutely their last decision to send him down. Because with the shot he has, putting him with Horvat and Barzell is just too damn enticing for me.
Again, just to reiterate that, the formula is simple. Look at Wallstrom. He played 1 year in college. Made the big mistake of coming out thinking he was ready now. Right. Alex Jeffries is the kid who, after a great season in Merrimack last year, said, "I'm staying."
Yeah.
That's the kind of a kid you want, because he wants to be at his best. And I think guys that play 4 years in college end up doing much better, aka Devon Taves. 4 years at Quinnipiac, he stayed. And we all know what he's done.
Right.
I think the 4-year college player just does so much better. And I can't wait. I mean, I only got to see a little bit of Alex's play. You know, some videos I caught, but again, he ticks all the boxes
Right.
of what you want from a kid like him. And yes, I think he's very sneaky fast, and I like that. And he's gonna progress better than the Maggios and the Dufours because I think that 4-year deal just does so much. But believe me, guys, it's gonna be it's not gonna be, we're rated 32 out of 32 in our prospects and whatever, but there are guys ready to come up, so it can't be that bad.
No, and I'm going to defend DeFore a little bit here. I think if Kyle Palmieri, who has earned this next season with the Islanders, if something were to happen to him and Oliver Wahlstrom is not on this team, I am actually comfortable with William DeFore coming up and getting that
Agreed.
time and the time
Yeah,
Holmstrom
I
has.
agree. Yep.
Yes, and this is
Matthews
what
is
I wanted.
fantastic.
This is what I wanted to talk about with the Islander fans. Lou has done a lot of drafting, a lot of younger kids, drafting them when they were 17. And what he's done in between was that he's kept the Islanders close to a playoff spot and drafting college players at the same time. So now at some point there was a time when all the prospects come together, and then when the Islanders get old enough, these prospects are just going to come up and replace the older players at some point. Folks, next year is that year. Okay. If you were to ask me right now, it has improved. DeFore skating has definitely improved. That's why I wouldn't bring him up. There's no doubt. Okay. DeFore skating and his overall game has improved. You give him a little more time in Bridgeport, something happens to Palmieri, I don't have a problem with him coming up next season. So what you're going to see, folks, is an actual transition from the old to the new. This is the change that you guys have been waiting for. It just took a little longer because college took a little longer because COVID wrecked a few of their seasons here. They had to take a little longer. Some of these college kids ended up doing 5 years instead of 4. Okay. Anders Lee can be replaced by Alex Jeffries. Brock Nelson can eventually be replaced by Danny Nelson. Cameron Berg can eventually replace Kyle McLean. Cameron Berg is that next prospect I'm hoping he signs, the Isles sign. Bottom 6 center, can play everything. Islander fans will absolutely love him. He is your Brad Marchand. He's your new rat. You'd hate him on any other team, but you want him on yours. If he can grasp the pro game, he's in. Okay, I Gary will attest to this. I had Cameron Berg higher than Ratu. I think Cameron Berg can still play more games than Ratu. Yes, you finally said something good. So, listen, Pajot, we'll see what the offseason brings. As far as the defense goes, you already got a top 4. I think William DeFore is going to be that number 5 at some point. And really what the Islanders are missing is a bottom, a number 6 defenseman, a bigger body to replace Scott Mayfield. They could do that in the draft this year. Depending on where they pick, a right-handed defenseman wouldn't be a bad idea. Another thing they could do, folks, and I've been looking at it a little bit, they could hit the waiver wire at the beginning of the season. There's a lot of players from other teams right now that just won't find a home. And it's something similar to Rob Schremp. Couldn't find a spot in Edmonton, and the Islanders claimed a center, and they needed a centerman. There's a couple of kids from that 2017, from that 2018 draft who will be going through waivers next season. And if the Islanders really wanted to, they can go 13 forwards and 8 defensemen next season. And the reason why you go 8 defensemen, you can still have Mike Riley and Scott Mayfield as your bottom pair. But then you can have Samuel Bolduc and this other younger right-handed defenseman who probably wouldn't get claimed again, but you can fill him in just in case Ryan Pulock and Scott Mayfield get injured. And then you can allow the draft to, bring up some other right-handed defensemen at some point. Yeah, McLean was going to be coming up anyway. McLean was groomed. And this is the other part that Lou has done. These college signing free agents, they got to go through Bridgeport. And if they play the system the way Patrick now wants them to play, they're going to get the time. Isaiah George is progressing. Isaiah George, I still have him as a bottom pair defenseman in the NHL at some point. Not putting up a lot of goals in the Ontario Hockey League. He's got a steady game. They're going to be going to the Memorial Cup playoffs. They should. But again, I don't think we're going to see Isaiah George anytime soon. I like how he brings up the puck. And in all honesty, I think he could be Mike Riley's eventual replacement. I think he's a future Mike Riley. That's where I have him at. But I think Isaiah George could probably be a little bit better defensively than Mike Riley. Waiving Wahlstrom. His trade value is low, like a 6th-round pick. Why are we waiving him then? He's got something to prove. Keep him. Why give him away? Why give him away and then all of a sudden he does really well somewhere else? I don't want to do that. Let him prove it. Allow for prospect recall because I'm stubborn. And this is just me talking. If we're just talking about prospect, I would rather have Oliver Wahlstrom play in the NHL than William Dufour. William Dufour can play as many games as he wants in the American Hockey League, and if Oliver Wahlstrom really can't do it by next season, then you can bring up Dufour and do whatever you want with Wahlstrom. Okay, but as far as I'm concerned, Wahlstrom did not get enough games, especially in the second half, to do anything. And again, Wahlstrom's another one. How much recovery time did he really have, after that knee surgery? That's another big one for me. But again, if he doesn't stay by the draft, we'll know anyway. I agree, Frank. And you know what? If we didn't have Mike Riley, we're not in playoffs. We're not even talking playoffs. You need that offensive production from your defense. We didn't get it from Aho this year. We didn't get it from Mayfield, Pulock, or Pelech. Mike Riley, Romanoff, and Dobson, thank you for having career years. That's basically it.
Yep.
Do we see a Shakov? I would like to, and I'm not going to lie. I wouldn't mind if a Shakov was the 13th forward. But again, we don't know where this lineup is going to be. We don't know what Patrick really wants. So I'm not going to waste your time and play armchair GM or armchair coach where I think each player should be. That's just a waste of time. I go, whatever Patrick wants to do, Patrick's going to do, and then we'll talk about it from there. For me, Ishakov probably could play in Chicago, Anaheim, San Jose, Montreal. Probably. Again, he is the Matt Barzal of the American Hockey League, but he also causes those turnovers during 5-on-5 play.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it does happen. So, and if he decides to go to the KHL, guess what? The Islanders still hold his rights. That's fine. He doesn't have to sign with the Islanders, but the Islanders will still hold his rights until he's 26. So, you're not really losing him. Yeah, for now. They're poor, not broke. They're poor, not broke. Once the Islanders continue to keep on winning here in any capacity, once that collective bargaining agreement that season, the Islanders should be in the green. And as we've said before, and Joe, am I allowed to coin that phrase or do you want to use it?
What, MSG East?
Yes. Okay. At some point, folks, okay, whether fans like it or not, okay, UBS is going to turn into MSG East. That's the goal. Okay, that's the ultimate goal. Winning a Stanley Cup somewhere along the ways will certainly help, but that's the direction it's all going. So, yeah. These kids need to develop in the AHL, keep them there until they're ready. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I'm not saying Cameron Berg is ready. I got to see him play, keep the pace and whatnot. But Cameron Berg's put up some great numbers in college. He should adapt to the AHL pretty well.
Most
The
North
four should be
Dakota
good.
kids do.
Maggio's going to have a better season. I think Maggio's going to have a better season. I'm curious to see what Kelly Odelius will do next season because he's coming in as well. And I would also like to see Lou sign a few more college free agents as well. I know we did have one here. Copperlude. Copperlude from Arizona State, PTO. Listen, he's a goal scorer. Goal scorer, big time on the power play. If he can score goals, that'll be a benefit. And again, the purpose of of Lou bringing in players either from Europe or college, it's not to get them into the NHL. It's to wake up the prospects who have been drafted by the Islanders. Oh, I'm a first round pick. I can do whatever I want. No. When those future first round picks come into Bridgeport and they're seeing that they're going up against players who are men and ready to play and have done some winning already, it's a wake up call. And what's going to happen from here on out is that these first round picks are going to be developed better because these players are now coming in from college and everywhere else because they're used to winning. So the development, just from a mental standpoint, from a prep standpoint, it's all going to be better from here on out. Not to mention probably bringing in a few more AHL veterans along the way. That's going to be part of the development. So, all right, almost an hour and 20 minutes, far longer than what I wanted to do.
Once you get Paul started,
yeah, I know.
Pass the show right on to you, buddy.
Yeah, I know. Time flies when you're having fun here. What first round picks? We've got our first round picks. We got them all. He hasn't traded them in yet. But again, I will say this again. With Alex Jeffries coming in, I don't think you need to trade that first round pick. At this point, Jeffries was a big one. Huck, that's another good point. The winning atmosphere. That's also part of the development. That's one of the reasons why the Washington Capitals are still in the playoff hunt. There was a bunch of their players who won the Calder Cup trophy last year, the Calder Cup, with the Hershey Bears. They took that winning experience. They brought them up this year in the National Hockey League. They're all playoffs. They're all playoff ready. They know they're in the playoffs right now. That's that mentality that I'm hoping the Islanders can come up with.
Didn't Carolina do that a couple of years ago?
Yes, they did. Charlotte Checkers, they did that as well. Yeah. So did Tampa Bay with Syracuse. Yes. And Providence has always had a good system with Boston. So, yeah, and Springfield with Florida. It's all part of that process. Yeah, it has been a billion years. Yep. Washington Bears, Hershey Capitals, whatever you want to call them. Yeah, that's where they are. So Marlies, no, forget the Marlies. Ryan, shame on you. Forget the Marlies. Nope. So listen, real quick, ladies and gentlemen, these are really, really nice. These bracelets, we all have them. If you go on to ChristineSt.Louis.com, promo code IslesTalk, you take 10% off the bracelets. I normally don't wear that kind of jewelry, but I gotta tell you, these are really nice. They're really nice. They're made of great quality. There's men's and women's bracelets, necklaces, I believe too, Joe.
I believe she does necklaces really also, yeah.
Okay. Hit Christine St. Louis. She's on Facebook, ChristineSt.Louis.com. Order from there. Use Isles Talk as a promo code, and you get 10% off. We've had, Gary, if I'm not mistaken, a couple of Booster Club members who have also bought them, and they love them as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and, again, we're just here to help her build up some of the business here. It's been really, really good. So, yeah, take a shot. Yes, they are masculine. Yes. Yeah, these are good. If I ever show up to an Islander game or an Islander Booster Club meeting, I'm coming with this. These are actually pretty cool.
Yeah, but we're not praying he shows because he always says he's gonna and he never does.
Yeah, I know. I know. I'm showing up April 13th.
Yeah.
I have to show up April 13th.
We'll see.
Yes. There we go. Marianne loves hers. Beautiful. There we go.
They go well. Yeah, she's from the Booster Club. So yeah.
No, Robin. All right. So listen, Gary, where can they find you on social media?
Well, like I said, I don't tweet often, but at Alsmet63 is my handle, and say hi if you want.
Joe, where can they find you?
I'm still laughing at Robin.
Shut up, Robin.
Oh, that looks great, Joe.
Right, man bun.
3 long hairs.
Joe Panettiere on X. At Joe Panettiere on X.
He's going to change his Twitter handle, Joe Man Bun now.
Joe Man Bun.
Yeah.
Joey Buns.
And you guys can follow me on Twitter at P_Kreischer. Please, ladies and gentlemen, like and subscribe on YouTube. We're trying to get to at least 100 subscribers. We're at 85 right now. We'd love to get up to 100. Please like and follow us on Facebook. We're in the 800s there on Facebook. We're trying to get up a little higher there. And you can also follow us on Twitter at Isles Talk. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming on. Yeah, I agree here. Beat Detroit. They got to do it, folks. Next week, maybe we come back and say they're eliminated. Or we're still in this. And if that's the case, I think Joe and Gary are going to have to start building up their playoff beard because it's going to be a rough ride for the rest of this season. So, folks, get ready. Win tomorrow. Get excited for the rest of the season. That's all we can hope for. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming on. Let's go Islanders, and hopefully we'll see you next week.